Hello, hello. Thanks for being here. It is the end of another month, so we have to talk about this month's book, which, of course, if you clicked on the title, you see what it is. But it is My Sister, the Serial Killer, written by Oyinkan Brathwaite. Excuse me if I'm pronouncing it incorrectly. So essentially, you can pause to read the synopsis, but essentially it's about two sisters, one of which is a serial killer. And we kind of get pulled along into their lives to kind of get more about their relationships and their relationships with other people and how they interact with each other. So I picked this book this month because I've actually been wanting to read this book for at least a year now, right? I pitched it to the group before it was shut down, and I said, I want to pitch it again. Now that there's some new changes. So I'm very excited that I finally got the chance to read.
Don't make me laugh. Oh my God. Yes, the book. Yeah.
Yeah. And given the topic, right, you would think it would be like a darker kind of vibe. It wasn't overly dark. It was actually pretty like funny in some parts of it. And it's a quick read. I really was so excited to get a chance to read it. Um, but I don't want it to overtalk. I'm not here by myself. I'm here, of course, with my co-host and fellow book lover, E. Blicky. How's it going?
It's going really well. Enjoying this cold/sunny weekend.
Yeah.
Wrapping it up with this book. I
Mhm.
did finished in 2 days, which was great. Didn't even really take that long.
Okay. All right. So before we get into any spoilers, we like to talk a little bit about the book and give it our star rating. So if you don't mind, I'll go first since I picked it this month. Uh, there were a couple things that came up throughout the book with Corday, who was the voice that we're hearing. We're experiencing the events through her eyes, and there were a couple moments in the book that I was thinking, why doesn't Corday just leave? Like she's um, kind of in the shadow of her younger sister, who is Iola. She's very beautiful. She's also our serial killer. And it would seem that Corday spent a lot of the book being unhappy and unsatisfied with her life. And the whole time I'm thinking, why would she stay? Like even when her relationship with the mother didn't seem to be that strong. Um, the father will get more into once we get to the spoiler section. But that was a question that I had throughout the book until the very end of the book, right? And I liked how the book kind of led us there without showing us exactly what happened, but let us know enough to know. And it was like, oh, okay. But at the same time, I do wish that there were a couple more flashbacks in the book to kind of further give us some information on some things.
Hmm.
Um, but overall, for me, uh, I just thought it was interesting. I liked that Iola uh, was. I liked her interaction because she seemed very selfish and kind of more worried about like herself than anyone else. But I liked how we got to see that through Corday's eyes and how because of her sister's selfishness, she kind of overgave in a way. And to the point that I was thinking, oh, she's just a selfless giving individual, right? She just, wants to be there. But I don't think that was the case by the time we got to the end of the book. But anyway, to give it my star rating, I'm going to have to give this because I read it really quickly and because I did enjoy like the read. It happened really quick for me. I liked seeing uh, Nigeria through the eyes of the character who lived in Nigeria, is from Nigeria. I believe they're Yoruba. Um, so I thought that was really interesting to find out more about it through that way. But for me, I don't know if it's not a 5-star read for me. Um, I was very much entertained, so I'm going to give it maybe a 3.8, possibly a 4 star. I think
Wow. Wait.
yeah, I think I'm going to give it a 3.8 for me.
Okay.
I
Okay.
think it was good, though it left me wanting a little more from the story, I'll say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have to agree. I definitely wanted a lot more from the story. Um, I'll talk about briefly about some of its strong points. I really love this twist of the perspective from the eyes of someone who, while is involved with the killings, but it's not necessarily through the eyes of the killer. So that
Mhm.
was a little different, and I did appreciate that because it kind of builds its own genre in that way.
Mhm.
Um, and yet we do still have that anti-hero vibe going with the main character,
Mhm.
which is always popular with me. And then the main character is also extremely cynical.
Yeah.
But that said, that her perspective on those things are like very reinforced by the people around her and how they treat her younger sister Iola.
Mhm.
Um, I I can't. I'll wait until spoilers to talk about how I feel about their sisters' relationship with each other.
Okay.
But yeah, so those were the strong points of this book for me, and I do agree that it needed to be a little bit more fleshed out for me to be able to enjoy them more thoroughly, and just a little bit, just a teensy bit more character development. I felt like a lot of the character development was like not on a whim, but it was just as things were happening in that moment.
Okay.
Despite there being so many flashbacks, it just should have been more flesh and more meat to the flashbacks
Mhm.
for me to really grasp some of the personality benchmarks of these characters and
Okay.
like why they are how they are. For my star rating, I'm gonna give this a 2.5.
Wow. What?
I know that's lower than I typically am, and I do feel strongly like I'm like the Paula Abdul of this voting of this book club. But the reason I'm giving it is, so I'll go into the spoilers of why I'm rating it so low. I was
Okay.
going to rate it a little lower, to be honest,
What?
but I'm gonna give
Okay.
it I'm gonna give it 2.5 because it does use elements that I typically really enjoy in a book, especially um, like a first person perspective
Okay.
story.
Well, let's get into this spoiler time. I gotta know, like, what a 2.5
Okay,
is crazy. Let's see, but I don't want to hear the
I
justification.
I know that sounds drastic for me. It does. Okay, so there's a lot. I have a lot of issues with this story.
Hmm.
The concept is great,
Okay.
right? There's two sisters. One is a natural born killer. Like that is what she does. And
Hmm.
I really enjoy that while she goes through life charmed and just kind of gets away with whatever and
Uh-huh.
gets what she wants, especially when it comes to men,
Yeah.
that doesn't sway her from her one purpose, which is to use these men up,
Uh-huh.
and when she's done with them, stab them up.
Yeah.
I love that. Like, girl,
Uh-huh.
don't ever change your colors. And I love the concept of the sister that kind of cleans up after her sibling. She
Okay. Yeah.
doesn't necessarily, it's like she goes through the story condemning her sister, but
Yeah.
not to the point of really trying to do anything to stop her. And
Hmm.
she really is the cleanup woman. Like
Yeah.
she comes after every single one and gets it all cleaned up and everything, so that they kind of don't really have to have any so that they don't have to have any consequences, neither of them really.
So,
And the one instance where you think that they might, which is the first kill of the story,
uh-huh.
uh, Ayola's boyfriend of the moment, Femi,
Uh-huh.
uh, a lot of that was very sloppily done, and yet they still got away with it. And I
Yeah.
was very confused by that. So that's one thing that kind of irked me, is that to me, the big bad was, are they going to get caught up with this Femi kill? And it just doesn't, it's not drawn out long enough for that to happen
Yeah.
throughout the story. I really feel like that was a miss on the part of the author, because I was afraid for a good section of the book behind the cops taking the car and all that.
Yeah.
And I'm just supposed to, you know, accept that
Right.
they took the car and
That
found
wasn't wrapped up.
absolutely nothing, and
Hmm.
that it was wrapped up in a little bow and they didn't have to worry about it anymore, even though Femi's sister literally called them out,
Hmm.
and then there was just nothing after that. She even confronted them at some point,
Yeah.
and there was nothing after that. I was very confused by that.
The only reason, okay, I would have liked more, suspense at the end of how it was wrapped up between, for that death, right? Because it did seem for a good part of the book that they were zoning in, the police were zoning in on them as suspects
Mhm.
and culprits, right? And I'm thinking the only reason why it didn't happen, even though it could have been more fleshed out in the book, but it was because they were women and these were like very violent crimes, right? And statistically, I think women, okay, of course, there's more men serial killers than women serial killers, like by far, right?
Mhm.
Statistically. But
Mhm.
also, when we do see women serial killers, often it's by poison or things like that. It's rarer to see like a violent stabbing, multiple stabbing serial killer woman. And I think that's the only reason they got away with it, because they was like, oh, it can't, probably thinking it can't be a woman. These are, these huge men in their eyes, because Iola's supposed to be like this little, I'm just
Yeah.
small and seductive, right?
This tiny little thing.
Yeah, uh-huh. And that's the only reason she got away with it, because I'm
Hmm.
thinking they're thinking this is a man's crime. So
Well, then that's then the second boyfriend, who was married, who
oh
Iola
yeah,
goes to Dubai with,
the sugar uh-huh,
I needed more with that one, because it's
uh-huh,
like, I I get that the end game is to get what you can off of them and then murder them,
uh-huh,
but why would you do it when you're away on a trip? It's
yeah,
like,
and still, presumably getting things from this man.
yeah,
That's what
yeah,
I wanted to ask, because, do you think the knife was cursed? Because that was put up in, uh Corday was, thinking it was like, "Oh, maybe, the items of someone else takes over the not the body, but
yeah.
it kind of
The
transfer
energy, the
energy."
spirit.
Yeah. Was it like a
I,
curse on the knife?
I I would like to think so, but we never go much further than that kind
Yeah.
of rumination
Uh,
on Coraday's part. I love that concept. I wish that the author delved a little further into that, but
uh-huh.
we don't really get that. That's just another one of Coraday's like
Thoughts.
machinations. Like, maybe that's what's happening with this. And then and then the second boyfriend doesn't, Boyega, he doesn't get stabbed either. This is the first
Oh, yeah, yeah, the sugar daddy. Yeah, he didn't get that.
this is the first drug overdose kill, which is like
Yeah.
a poisoning essentially.
Mhm.
It just felt like displaced, like
Uh-huh.
very different from what we're used to, and then also like, what was the point? Like, he's not really your boyfriend. He's just a guy that you sometimes hang out with and get
Yeah.
things from. There was no need for commitment,
Uh-huh.
eventually, or on the horizon. And that to me would be like the trigger for Ayole, right? Once the boyfriend wants to really commit to something more serious,
Mhm.
then she gets the instinct to kill. That
Okay.
that to me
That
would
would
be
be
a good trigger. There
yeah.
doesn't seem to be a consistent trigger for the kills.
Mhm.
It's like, why did you and we don't really know what happened the night that her and Femi um fought, except that
Yeah.
maybe Femi found out that she was talking to somebody on the side. That's what Ayole says to
Uh-huh.
Korode, but is that actually what happened?
We don't know. We don't
Maybe.
uh-huh.
I'm okay with like an um like not knowing things for sure, for certain or for sure,
Uh-huh.
but just opening all of these perfect opportunities to explore and not exploring them just feels, I don't know, I just kind of
A missed
feel, you kind of feel
opportunity.
robbed. Yeah, I kind of feel
Yeah.
robbed.
I'm thinking, I can agree. A couple, well, before I go on to that, I do think that, um, oh crap, I just lost my train of thought. It was something about her killings. And oh, I'm leaning towards the knife not being cursed because of the father, right? The father, what little bit we get from the father, the flashbacks there, we see that he's very inconsistent himself. Even when he's telling the knife story changes every time. You know, he's got his wife, he's got his mistress on the side. He acts as if, you know, nothing phases him and he's above it all. And that's very much Iola, right?
Mhm.
It's it seems like she inherited his traits more so than the knife, you know, bringing any kind of evil voodoo, you
Yeah,
know, hoodoo stuff down on her. Not hoodoo, but you know, bad
yeah.
energy down on her. So her having like this sporadic reasons to kill, I guess that makes sense because he seemed a little bit we got from him. He seems very whatever comes across his mind in the moment is what he's going to do or what he's going to say, or that's why the story of the knife changes depending on, you know, his mood or who he wants to tell the story to, and yada yada yada. What I wish would have happened, I wish we would have gotten more backstory with the father, like more flashbacks of the father,
Hmm.
because outside of him, you know, being a liar and a cheater, what was the reason to kill him? Like, was he didn't necessarily come across as abusive to his daughters. And when we see that, or when we kind of like at the very like last few chapters, we find out that the daughters are the one who killed them or killed him, and
But
it
did
was
we find that
orchestrated.
out?
Yes, yes, because
That was my question.
Corriday said we got to kill him, right? So it was
Yeah.
Corriday's idea, and I'm thinking the reason why Corriday doesn't leave is because subconsciously she may feel a little guilty by
Okay.
being the first to put Iola on this path of killings, kind of
Yeah.
showing her that killing is okay, and that's why she continues it in a way. Or I don't know. It's a lot of like open things that it could be.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wish we would have explored more about the dad because why jump to killing the dad? He seemed like he was maybe a bad dad, but not like to the point that you got to kill this.
Okay. So here's where, okay, so a few items for me is
Uh-huh.
Iola at some point becomes a sociopath.
Okay. Uh-huh.
We don't know when that kind of kicked off. It seems like the flashbacks that they used to or I guess bring that on is when the father beat her with the cane for having the little, not the boyfriend but the guy friend at school that really liked her.
Mhm.
And that's the first time we see that the father, you know, not that he's abusive, but he's beating his daughters
Okay.
with a cane, and it's pretty bad.
Okay. Uh-huh.
um and in front of the whole family.
Mhm.
And then and she like is stripped down to her undies to get whooped. And
Okay.
then
I almost forgot
the
about that part. You're right.
and then the second time is where he's basically about to sell Iola
Yeah. Uh-huh.
for a business deal to this chief.
Uh-huh.
Okay, and so there's so that's the one thing. So I get why they resorted to this his murder as a final solution, but
Okay.
I don't. If I'm being quiet, I just finished the book today, and I took 2 days. If I think about it, I can't think about how they will have killed him
Yeah.
since he had a heart issue. It would have had to have something to do with his heart
Mhm.
and them kind of bringing on
Some
his
sort of heart attack or
exertion or exhaustion to the point of heart attack.
mhm.
Maybe they had pills, who knows, but
Mhm.
somehow they were able to kill him via natural causes,
Mhm.
which, why didn't we explore that? Like, I
Yeah.
wanted more details with that. And then there's a lot of allusions from Corriday that confirms that Iola is a sociopath,
Mm,
but outside of Cordae's explaining to us, the readers, that there's so many different emotions
mhm.
that she's had to coach Iola on having or mirroring in certain circumstances,
Yeah,
there's no other connection to the sociopathic tendencies of murder,
yeah,
right?
that's what makes me wonder, is it really Iola who's the crazy one, or is it because no one else sees this in Iola? It could just be because, they're sisters and maybe they're closer,
Hmm.
but we are hearing through, what's his name, the Dr. Tade,
Hmm.
that him and Iola do have conversations, and she confides in her that, yeah, Corday is kind of thinks the worst of her and things like that. And
Hmm.
by the end of the book, we see that Corday, again, she was the one who had the idea to kill the father. She's the one who orchestrated the whole cleanup of everything and things like that. So I'm thinking, is Corday actually the one who has a little bit of a psychosis as well? Not saying that Iola doesn't have anything,
Hmm.
but we only know Iola through Corday's eyes. But
Yeah,
it's weird to me that no one else sees anything, and not the mother, not anyone else. It's just Corday who sees the worst in her sister and still decides to stick by. I don't know. Sometimes like, is she a reliable narrator? That's the
she
question.
is a very unreliable narrator, which I'm also okay with. I kind of
Okay.
like that because it it gives you that intensified feeling of a thriller throughout, because it's
Mhm,
like they're talking straight to you
mhm,
and they're trying to manipulate you, and you know that, so you're
mhm.
kind of like being cautious about what you receive as reality. um Corday sees the worst in everybody except
Yeah.
for Dr. Tade,
Right.
until he meets her sister.
Uh-huh.
Then she starts to see his dark side.
Uh-huh. For what he really is. She's like, "Oh, he's such an
Uh-huh.
honorable man, he doesn't, he's so sweet and all of this and all that." And Iola was like, "Look, he's a man."
Yeah,
She proved it. As soon as a pretty face walked by, it doesn't matter what's behind it. All they
yeah.
see is a pretty face.
And she's not wrong.
Yeah.
Like Tade hits all the pitfalls that everyone else hits throughout
Mhm.
their interactions with Iola.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um and to me, you through the interactions with Tade, you can see that this sisterly relationship is a symbiosis. It's and a self-fulfilling prophecy. uh Corday is mad that the world revolves around Iola and her
Mhm.
every whim and smirk and smile and her charms.
Mhm.
And Iola is very aware of the status that her looks garner her in the world,
Yeah.
but she thinks that she's still not anything more than that. She
Mm.
doesn't think anything is that her value in this world is anything more than just her looks, because that's all that people see or think about when they view
Mhm.
her or think of her. And in part, she has a disdain for men because of her relationship with her father. Her
Yeah.
father reduced her to the value that he could get from selling her to the chief,
Mhm.
which was only based on her looks.
Yeah.
And so from this point forward, all men that, you know, she deems as only seeing her value in her looks are not worthy of breathing,
Mhm.
right? I know that she trusts Corday, but I was confused about her taking all this time and effort to paint Corday as this bad person to
Yeah.
Dr. Tade. It's weird because, well, I guess now that I'm thinking about it, maybe she did that intentionally because she knew that Corday cared for Dr. Tade,
Mhm.
and we know that she wanted Corday to know that Dr. Tade was no different than any other man.
Yeah.
So maybe she planted those seeds to further keep her claws into Corday
Mhm.
and to have things happen the way she intended to happen, which was for Dr. Corday to meet his final breath at her hand.
Mhm.
That said, should we get into how that played out?
Oh yeah, because he didn't die.
He didn't die. And the reason being Corday's warning
Yeah,
was mind blowing.
right.
That made him agile.
All this protecting your sister goes out the door when there's a man involved. That's what it's giving. Like, what happened to?
Exactly. I mean, part of it too is that with how this played out, and her saying something this time because her patient, her coma patient, good friend, I think it's Mukhtar.
Yeah, there's something like that. It's
Muta telling her, if you care about him, you need to protect him from her. Mm-hmm. Her warning him not heeding her warning, but then eventually when the stuff goes down, him being able to defend himself and in turn assault Ayola was like, whoa, that really blew my mind. And then it was just weird.
But all of that just to take Ayola's side still in the end?
Just to take Ayola's side still in the end. But then my mind always kept going back to how she would reminisce about Femi and his body and, you know, his poetry and all this stuff. And it's just like, how many times has this played out in this exact way, except without the sisters both kind of trying to sway the man?
Okay.
Like, Corday obviously had no real interaction with Femi like that. But because this was now in her world, Dr. Tade being her boss, kind of, now it's like, oh, she's going to do something a little bit different. But then it didn't even matter because Ayola was on the other end, kind of spoiling Corday's reputation to Dr. Tade. It was very interesting with that. That's what gave it a boost for me.
And then now that you say that, when they were talking about how they can put together a story as to why a witness saw two women leaving the victim's house.
Oh, yeah.
And what's her name? The sister, the older sister, she was saying, oh yeah, well, you could tell him that, you know, he was going to leave you for me. And I was like, oh, is that believable?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. When that happened, I was so annoyed. I mean, okay. To be fair, I will also say that I listened to the audiobook of this. And I think that really skewed the comedic parts of this book. Because the narrator, her voice was very, like, dramatic. Like, it was intense and very, I don't know. But the way that she read was very like a thriller, truly. And it didn't give comedic. It just pissed me off when Ayola was like, "No, is anyone going to believe that?" And she still didn't really want to stick to that because that's just not believable. That somebody want to break up with her.
Shady. But it's like, but it's like, did the sister want him whole time? Is that why she pitched this? Oh yeah, he was going to leave you for me. And she's like, oh, yeah, in what world, right? Was she secretly pining after this man too? Like, what is it? What's the real tea?
I think Corday just needs a boyfriend real bad. And the minute that happens, that is when this will be over. But is Ayola even going to allow that to happen? Never. That would never happen under Ayola's watch.
Well, she gotta leave, but she's not going to. That's the problem. It's just like a reoccurring thing. And I wonder, did the mother have any kind of inkling that these girls are killing these individuals, or that they killed the dad specifically?
No, not. I don't think she has any idea whatsoever about what's going on. She's completely oblivious. And I also want to touch really quickly at another thing that pissed me off so bad from Dr. Tade. When everything went down and Ayola was in the hospital and him and Corday were talking, and Corday basically threatens him like, and you better not say anything or I'm going to tell that you assaulted and And then he's like, he was like, I thought your sister was crazy. You're worse. How is she worse? I really don't understand how she's worse. And from his perspective, I don't see how he's worse. I know that she's worse.
Yeah.
Because you're actually opening my eyes to this component that she's probably low key masterminding these
Yes.
things because she knows her sister is like that and she's not interceding or stopping it.
Uh-huh.
But I think that she's worse because she has all the makings of a killer except the actual act.
Hmm.
She's a complete narcissist. She's
Yes.
extremely bitter and
Hmm.
hates literally everyone.
Yes.
The only person she respects somewhat is her mother, and she kind of is like she's cool with the house girl.
Yeah.
And I feel like part of it, like I don't want to say she hates her sister, but I think that most of their connection throughout this is like her duty to her sister. So
Yeah.
part of it is like she might hate herself
Hmm.
because of how she feels protective of her sister, despite her sister kind of like ruining her life.
Yeah. I think she's letting her sister do Iola do this because it's almost like a justice for her. It's like she's like feels maybe rejected by these men. She never gets the attention that she wants from them, like with Tade and the other one. And so
Yeah.
maybe she kind of sees them as being, if she doesn't get the attention and you go towards the sister, you don't know what you're getting, and it's kind of like her feeling
Like, hey,
justified.
yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like, yeah, okay, well, that's what you deserve now. Since you didn't see me, you get what you deserve. And maybe that's why she
Mm-hmm.
also like covers up her sister's actions, because it's like there are repercussions for not choosing her. The
That's a
better
really
sister
great
in her
theory.
mind, the sister who's more than just the looks in her mind. She loves to say, like, think about herself the way she's intelligent and yada yada, but she's just not as pretty as her sister, which is a big thing for her. It's like a big obstacle for her to that she can't overcome.
Yeah. I
Constantly
love
talking about sister's looks.
I love that theory.
Mm. But anyway, interesting book, man. I'm telling you, it's a high three for me. So,
A high three, might as well put a four up there, girl. 3A, that is a four.
right.
This book has a lot of potential. If it were to be made into a movie, I would like them to flesh it out a lot more. But I do see the potential for a film, truly.
Mhm.
Like, this concept is amazing. I
Yeah.
would like to see it.
Me too. Even like a little miniseries or something. So something out
Oh, a
there.
mini series would be great.
Yeah. And the whole reason I think I originally heard about it was because it was like, I think I heard about it through the Libby app, through the library app. So support your local libraries.
Yes.
But there was such a long wait to get to this book. Actually, the whole reason why I I thought about bringing it up again was because the reserve that I put on it from like a year ago when I first pitched it just got around to like me getting it.
Nice.
It's such like
Nice.
a popular book apparently. But anyway, great. I enjoyed the book. And if you're watching, thank you for watching. Please like the video if you like the video, and join us next month, the final Sunday of the next month. Next month is April, so final Sunday of April for the next book of the month. And yeah, have you decided what that book will be?
Oh, I'm sorry, guys. Every episode of this that I have to choose, I'm always a mess.
Hi, the Lord's Report. Hey, thanks for being here. Support his channel as well.
As usual, I have commitment issues, and I'm not solid. I will. Should I throw the titles out that I'm
Yeah,
considering?
sure.
So the titles I'm considering between are. Oh God, now I can't remember which one it is.
I remember what you sent in the chat. I can pull it up.
Oh my God, please pull it up. Was the Intuitionist?
Yeah, that was the one, and the other one was The City We Became.
And the other one is The City We Became.
Uh-huh.
That's what those are my top two possibles.
Uh-huh.
I am not firm on my decision, and I do apologize to everyone at home. Thank you so much for your patience.
All right.
We'll let you know.
We'll post about it when she decides, and
Yes.
we'll be talking about it again on the final Sunday of April. So join us then, and we'll see you later. Goodbye.
Bye.